All right, we were showing you at the beginning of this broadcast some startling video we're getting from our friends at Sky News that seemed to show essentially a high-tech university for ISIS. Thugs with gadgets, if you will. And I'm talking very advanced gadgets. We've always heard how much money ISIS, particularly when oil was a lot more expensive, how much money was taken in every day, every week. These tens of millions, hundreds of millions. Some say that ISIS has values in the billions of dollars. But they're putting it to good use. All sorts of James Bond type weapon systems. This is not your rogue gallery of malcontents here. So with this, what happens now? Let's get the read from David DeFurry. He's a former Obama campaign foreign policy advisor. John Hanna, former national security advisor to Dick Cheney. So John Hanna, would you begin with you? This is pretty scary stuff. At face value, it shows they have some very high-tech capabilities. What do you make of it?
Yeah, we obviously don't know if it's true. People have got to look at it who understand these things, but it wouldn't be surprising, Neil.
Well, I mean, since this is a Fox entity and it's Sky News, you could take it to the bank.
All right, it's okay, 100% sure then.
But if it is true, then what do we do?
Well, I think it only underscores that these guys are really the A-League. They are building a state. They've got social media empire. They've built a national oil industry. They've got a chemical weapons program. So the fact that they have heat-guided missiles that can actually hit civilian airliners and maybe even our aircraft only underscores the degree of threat that is out there, Neil, and the need for the West and the United States and our allies in the region to figure out a way to accelerate how we put pressure, put these guys back on their back foot and begin dismantling this caliphate before the very worst thing happens.
You know, Dave, I mean, I guess we could argue with semantics. I know you're not necessarily a fan of arguing over whether it's radical Islam or whatever. But whatever they're doing with this high technology, if true, is certainly a radical departure from what we've traditionally known of these groups, even Al-Qaeda. So what does that mean? Do you think that this has escalated folks' fears to the point that whatever we're doing isn't working, because this is pretty sophisticated stuff?
Well, that's correct. This is very different from the threats we faced from terrorist organizations in the past. The reason is that ISIS holds substantial areas and territories, and that gives them the room to do things like build a laboratory like this. Previous terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda were hiding in caves or in secret compounds. They had to move around a lot. They didn't have access to all of the resources. ISIS is drawing on the resources of the substantial territory that it holds. So the number one priority has to be to push ISIS out of the cities like Mosul in Iraq, like Raqqa in Syria. I was in Iraq a few months ago, and I went to a Kurdish Peshmerga base. The Kurds are fighting ISIS. They had towed a vehicle that they captured from ISIS. It was a regular truck that ISIS put armor on and made into an armored vehicle that it could drive into soft targets and fill it up with explosives and fighters and drive it into soft targets. I asked the Kurdish fighters, how many of these vehicles do you think ISIS has? And they said, well, how many of these regular trucks do you think ISIS are in Mosul? Because as many as there are in Mosul, they could make all of them into armored vehicles like this. So the threat is so substantial because ISIS holds that territory. We've got to push them out of that territory.
Yeah, but I think they could do this in a bunker somewhere, and the effect is the same. But who knows? Gentlemen, thank you.